Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Sriman Mahaprabhu ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna devotees, and good evening and welcome to our very special Wednesday evening program. It's special for a variety of reasons. But first I'd like to offer some special welcomes this evening. We're very, very fortunate this evening to once again have the association of our very dear, I was going to say former, but our temple president, Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu, who is returning home, albeit for a few days. So thank you, Vibhu Prabhu, for coming and giving us your association. Shri Shri Radha Radhana ki. Also, we'd like to extend a very warm welcome to His Grace Patanjali Muni Prabhu from South Korea. Patanjali Muni Prabhu is from South Korea. He serves as the temple president of our center there and the regional supervisor of that area. So we're very fortunate to have his association. He will also be doing some programs, so please look out for the announcements of his programs on our ISKCON Durban social media platforms. Welcome, Prabhu. We're very, very happy to have your association. And of course, well, maybe I should just check for sure. After many, many years, not many years, but many months and years of experiencing this personality on social media, being amazed by his wonderful intellect and spiritual insight, some of you may be wondering, is it really true that he's here? Let's see. Yeah, he's here in the flesh. He's definitely here. So I cannot begin to even express, even remotely, how appreciative and honored and even proud I am to have His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj at Radha Radhanath Temple. Please offer him a wonderful round of applause and welcome. Maharaj, in every sense, as you will see in a few moments, he's a towering personality, being very tall and, just colossal and towering, not just in his physical form, but especially in what he's come to share. It's so amazing how he grasped the philosophy of Krishna consciousness as presented by Lord Chaitanya, Srila Rupa Goswami, our Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, our ISKCON gurus, Kadambakanana Swami, and so on. He presents it in such a wonderful way that it's so easy to connect with. So, like I said, I feel very proud. I feel very protected, actually. We were talking the other day, Ram Vijay Prabhu and I, about how concerned we are at how so many of our senior Vaishnavas are leaving us. And that's inevitable. It's going to happen. And one may be in anxiety, well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to this movement? But when we experience devotees like His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Maharaj, we feel very, very relieved that this movement is in really wonderful hands. So we'll request Maharaj to please take the seat on the Vyasasan. I'm not going to take too much more time, but there's just one thing. We also want to, which we normally don't do at Radha Radhanath Temple for various reasons. Please don't write me and ask me why now, but we generally don't just celebrate devotees' birthdays. You may notice cutting cake, happy birthday to you, all these things. But I was thinking about it this morning, and that birthdays we should celebrate. Why should we celebrate a birthday of a person? Because the human form of birth is a very special opportunity, and it should be celebrated. So when someone takes a human form of life, it means that they can actually transfer themselves back to the spiritual world, realize their identity, and go back home, back to Godhead. What to speak then of a personality who's enabling so many people to understand their position and realize the human form of life? So today we want to take a few minutes to honor a very wonderful personality whose birth date was on Monday, And that is also none other than His Holiness Svayam Bhagavan Keshava Swami. So happy birthday, Maharaj. And generally they say the person whose birthday it is, they make wishes, but we're going to change the culture a little bit. We want all of y'all to make a wish for Maharaj to please come back soon.
Oh my goodness me, this is amazing.
And for much, much longer periods of
It would
time.
be a crime to cut this, you know. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much for your kindness. Yes, thank you so much, Swarup Damodar Prabhu, and of course my good friend Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu and all the Vaishnavas here. I'm touched. Kadamba Kanana Maharaj told me, you have to go to Durban, it's like another Bhaktivedanta Mana. So I'm feeling the love, I'm feeling your kindness, your warmth. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, this cake is amazing. So it says, happy birthday, S.B. Keshava Swami. Thank you for giving us wisdom that breathes. Thank you so much. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is the one who really gave us wisdom that breathes. We are just the messenger, the imperfect mouthpiece of what Srila Prabhupada came here to share to the world. On a day like this, I remember my teachers, I remember, of course, Srila Prabhupada. When I was very young, I heard about Srila Prabhupada, and I heard of his sacrifices, his amazing journey, his love, his dedication, his enthusiasm. And I thought to myself, I have to try and do something for Srila Prabhupada in this life. So at 21, I made the choice to join the Brahmachari ashram. Of course, a delegation from my family came to convince me otherwise. And one of my uncles said, why don't you have to get a proper job. I said, Srila Prabhupada's my boss. He said, no, we are Gujarati. Gujarati means degree, nokri, chokri. I said, degree I did, nokri, Prabhupada's my boss, chokri, well, I'm engaged in devotional service. So I said to him, I have a job, Srila Prabhupada's my boss. And then he said, no, that's not a proper job. I said, it is. He said, if it's a proper job, what's the salary? I said, I don't know about the salary, but the retirement plan is out of this world. So it's really an honor, it's my honor. Somehow Srila Prabhupada picked me up, an insignificant Gujarati boy from Wembley. Of course, you may not know what Wembley is, but it's not so glorious. But somehow Srila Prabhupada picked me up and made my life meaningful. And all of you great Vaishnavas, you gave me a chance, you encouraged me so much. And it's all your love. This keeps us going, the love and the cake. And very happy to be here and very happy to have the opportunity to serve you. So I guess I should blow these candles out before they melt the whole cake. Should I do that now? Okay, so, okay, you can use the plate. That's good, very practical. Chokri to dhokri? Oh, chopri, yeah. Degree, nokri, chopri. Wisdom that breathes. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Swami Bhagavan Keshava Swami Maharaj Ki. Hare Krishna devotees, one quick announcement that there's a lot of programs lined up for Maharaj, starting from tomorrow morning with a series of Srimad Bhagavatam classes here at Radha Temple. Of course, you can join also for the full morning program. Maharaj will be present. You can get to chant japa with him, attend the series of classes in the morning. So we look forward to you all coming. And yes, you can watch online, but even more potent than watching online is to be physically present here. So the morning class starts at 7:30 in the morning. So please do join us for the next 5 days of morning classes with Maharaj. The first sessions are about Maharaj Pritu, about leadership. And then the next sessions on Saturday and Sunday is discussions on the Madhurya Kadambini, a very, very important text by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that helps us understand the various developments of bhakti in a very, very detailed type of way. So we look forward to that. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Swami Bhagavan Keshava Swami.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Vi Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahadana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this evening we're reading from Sri Bhagavad Gita. We're reading from chapter number 2, text number 70. And this chapter is entitled Contents of the Gita Summarized. So this is a very, very special part of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The last verses of the second chapter are known as the Stita Pragya verses. Because in these verses is explained what are the qualities of a self-realized soul. Everyone wants to know, isn't it? Nowadays in Waterstones they have 7 qualities of highly successful people. So everyone wants to know what's the secret, what is the character that makes someone successful. So here in this part of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is explaining all the qualities which the successful spiritualists embody in their character. So actually it's said that Mahatma Gandhi, he had memorized all of these final verses of the second chapter and he used to recite them every single day. So it's very powerful verses. So today we will read from text number 70. I'll read it myself and all of you please attentively hear. This is Krishna speaking to Arjun. Arjun has asked Krishna, how do I know who is a self-realized person? How do I know one who has achieved this Krishna consciousness? Krishna says, Apuryamana machala pratistam samudramapa pravishanti advat tadvat kamayam pravishanti sarve Shashantim apnoti nakamakami. Very, very beautiful. Krishna says, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Krishna says, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into an ocean which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So powerful imagery Krishna is giving. Krishna says there is an ocean, and so many rivers are coming to the ocean, but the ocean never overflows. Somehow it's able to take all of those rivers and remain steady. Similarly, Krishna says the mind of a self-realized soul is like an ocean. So many desires are coming in. Yet, the person who is a self-realized soul, they don't get affected by those desires. They don't get agitated by those desires. They don't become overcome by those desires. Otherwise, people in this world, once something comes into their mind, they have to do something with it. But Krishna says the self-realized soul knows how to deal with desires. Purport. Although the vast ocean is always filled with water, it is always, especially during the rainy season, being filled with much more water. But the ocean remains the same, steady. It is not agitated, nor does it cross beyond the limit of its brink. As long as one has the material body, the demands of the body for sense gratification will continue. The devotee, however, is not disturbed by such desires because of his fullness. A Krishna-conscious man is not in need of anything because the Lord fulfills all his material necessities. Therefore, he is like the ocean, always full in himself. Desires may come to him like the waters of the river that flow into the ocean, but he is steady in his activities, and he is not even slightly disturbed by desires for sense gratification. That is the proof of a Krishna-conscious man, one who has lost all inclinations for material sense gratification, although the desires are present. Because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, he can remain steady like the ocean, and therefore enjoy full peace. Others, however, who want to fulfill desires even up to the limit of liberation, what to speak of material success, never attain peace. The fruitive workers, the salvationists, and also the yogis who are after mystic powers are all unhappy because of unfulfilled desires. But the person in Krishna consciousness is happy in the service of the Lord, and he has no desires to be fulfilled. In fact, he does not even desire liberation from the so-called material bondage. The devotees of Krishna have no material desires, and therefore they are in perfect peace. Srila Prabhupada ki. When Prabhupada makes statements, he's coming straight from Shastra. Krishna bhakta nishkama ataeva shanta bhukti mukti siddhikami sakali ashanta. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, everyone is ashanta, not peaceful. The one who wants material enjoyment, the one who wants liberation, the one who wants some kind of yogic perfection, sakali ashanta, all not peaceful. Krishna bhakta, nishkama. But Krishna bhakta, the devotee of Krishna, nishkama, no material desire. Atta eva shanta, and therefore they are peaceful. The whole world does not know the art of how to manage their desires. When I was 17, I was at secondary school and we had to apply for university. So I was thinking, what will I study? So I wanted to study philosophy. Of course, in Indian families, there's only 3 options: doctor, lawyer, or failure. So philosophy was not a appreciated choice. So in the end, I agreed with my family, I'll study information management, computer science and management. So I studied at University College London. In the university, there's so many types of management they study, no? I studied information management. Some people study human resource management. Some people study business management. Some people study some other kind of management. But the Hare Krishna temple is the only place you can come to learn the art of desire management. We give you a servant's degree in desire management. Because desire is so powerful. Your desire is what is driving the whole direction of your life. And sometimes our desires are drowning us. Our desires are defeating us. Our desires are actually depressing us. Because most people don't know how to manage their own desires. See, sometimes we desire things, and those things, we desire the wrong things. One man was with his wife and they were on their 60th birthday, both of them. And it coincidentally was their 40th wedding anniversary. So the man prayed for a wish and the genie came. And genie said, both of you get a wish. She said, I want a ticket around the world to travel. Genie gave it. The man said, I want to be 30 years younger than my wife. And then, vump, his wife became 90. Oh no! I desired to be 30 years younger. Yes, yes, you are 30 years younger now. You desired, I fulfilled. We desire things and we don't think. And then those desires bring us into a worse situation. Sometimes we desire things, useless things. Just like Srila Prabhupada tells the story. In India, have you seen the ladies? They balance on the head. You have footballers like Lionel Messi, who can do good headers. But then you have the Masi. Messi, and then the Masi. And the Masi, they can balance on their head, no? Like without looking, they can balance so many things. They're also good with the head. So this lady, she was in the baking sun, the midday sun. She was taking the water to the village. So she was taking the water back to her village. Prabhupada tells this story. And then at one point she tripped over and the whole pot of water dropped. And the clay pot smashed and the water went everywhere. And she said, Krishna! And she said it with such devotion that Krishna came. Krishna, yes, you called me. You're here. Yes, what would you like? I dropped my clay pot. Can you please put it back on my head? So, boom, came back on the head. And then she continued walking in the burning hot midday sun with this clay pot. And she said, Krishna came. I could have asked for anything. And what did I ask for? Just to simply put the burden of my material life back on my head. Useless desires. Sometimes we seek desires and we don't understand that these desires will simply fuel more desires. And these more desires will never be fulfilled. It just ends up in a spiral. One industrialist, he came to Srila Prabhupada, he said, Swamiji, I have so much money, I have so many factories, I have so many people working under me, but factually I have so many anxieties. And Prabhupada told him, Chintam aparimeyam cha pralayantam upashrita kamopa bhoga parama etavaditi nishchita. Prabhupada told him, Kamopa bhoga parama. If you have so many material desires, chintama parimeyam cha, then know for sure you will have so many anxieties. So Prabhupada said, no wonder you have anxieties, because you've just expanded your material desires beyond what is necessary. So the man looked at him and he said, so Swamiji, what shall I do? Prabhupada said, give all your money to us. Prabhupada said, we will be happy, Krishna will be happy, you will be happy. So he said, I'll come back to you, I'll let you know. I'll say, no, we'll take your number, we want to help you. So like this, People don't know how to manage their desires. We look for so many things, unknown ramifications of our desires. Once another man was walking past a shop, and he said, and the sign on the shop said, "You can buy anything in this shop, and your grandson in the future will pay the bill." So, wow. So he went in the shop. He thought, no problem. By the time my grandson pays the bill, I'll be dead and gone. So he loaded up the trolley. Finally, he came to the checkout counter. So they scanned everything through. They said, "Don't worry, your grandson will pay." And he was walking out. And then they slapped the bill. They said, "But this is your bill." He said, "What do you mean, bill? You said the grandson in the future will pay." They said, "Yes, this is the bill from your grandfather." You see? We don't understand. We try, desires, to shortcut something, to try to get there, and then we get implicated again. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, "Shashantim apnoti nakamakami." This calm, this desire which is in your mind, so many desires are there. We have to know how to deal with these desires. One Vaishnava poet says, if you took all the sky in the world as paper, and you took all the oceans of the world as ink, it still wouldn't be enough to write down every single material desire that someone may want to come up with. Endless. Dushpurena nalena cha, Krishna says, these desires burn like fire. So many desires. So therefore, there are 4 types of desires, broadly speaking, in our mind. And what Krishna is basically explaining in the Bhagavad Gita is how to deal with each one of these desires. First type of desire, Krishna says, are desires which are not going to progress you anywhere in your pursuit for happiness. They're simply going to frustrate you. They're simply going to entangle you, and they're simply going to implicate you more in the material world. Krishna says those desires should be ignored. The second category of material desires are those things that you aspire for, which are for a material thing, but if you expertly learn how to change them, then you can direct them towards Krishna and you can purify them. So the second type of desire is the material desire, but the one which can be channeled towards Krishna. So Krishna says those kind of desires have to be directed. They have to be directed towards God. Then Krishna says the third type of desire is the spiritual desire that you have, but which is also contaminated by some material motivation. So Krishna says those desires need to be purified. And then the fourth and final type of desire is the sincere desire that one has in their heart to try and serve Krishna and offer to Krishna. Krishna says those desires should be expanded. Now most people don't know this art. Which desires should be ignored? Which desires should be directed? Which desires should be purified? And which desires should be expanded? What we end up doing is ignoring the right desires, expanding the wrong desires, purifying that which can't be purified, because we get it all mixed up. Therefore, the wise person knows when the desires come into their mind, they ask themselves, which kind of desire is this? And let me respond accordingly. Because if we don't respond accordingly and we don't discriminate between our desires, then what will happen is our desires will lead to our downfall. Some people, they don't like to discriminate. What they try to do is just fulfill all of their desires. These people are called the hedonists. That is definitely a recipe for disaster. But there are some people who try to extinguish all the desires. For example, Buddhists. They say no desires. You should not have any desire, because desire is the cause of suffering. And they say get rid of all desire. One person came to the Buddhist teacher and said, I want happiness. He said, first problem is you have ego, so get rid of the I. And then he said, second problem is you have desire, therefore get rid of the want. And if you get rid of the I want, then you're left with happiness. That's the Buddhist philosophy. That try to get rid of all desires. But that doesn't work. Because Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that it's the nature of the soul to want to desire something. Some people, what they try to do is they just try to ignore the desires. They don't try to fulfill them. They don't try to extinguish them. They just accept they're there, and they just constantly for their whole life try to ignore it. They are like the impersonalists. But sooner or later, if you keep ignoring something, sooner or later it will get your attention, and then again you will fall prey. Therefore, the bhaktas, they don't do any of this. They understand how to deal with each desire, and ultimately how to make all their material desires into spiritual desires. The real way to be desireless is to desire everything for Krishna. Akama, this is known as. Kama means desire, akama means no desire. But Jiva Goswami, in the commentating on that verse, says akama means no desire, but what it actually means is, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, of syllables I am, hey. Aksharan, akaro smi, of letters, aksharanam, akamo smi. I am the letter A. So akama doesn't just mean without desire, it means only Krishna desires. That's what Jiva Goswami says. So this is what we have to do in our life. Gradually all the material desires have to be spiritualized. This is desire management. And therefore we have to know which desires should be ignored, which one should be directed, which one should be purified, and which one should be expanded. How do we expand our spiritual desires? That is the real thing. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport that Krishna is more eager for us to go back to Godhead than we are. Krishna has more desire for us to enter into the spiritual world than we have desire. And that's our basic problem. One time Srila Prabhupada was in Berry Place, and in the middle of the lecture someone put their hand up and said, so can you see God? Prabhupada said, yes, I can see God. Then Prabhupada looked at him, he was standing up, and Prabhupada looked at him and said, can't you see God? So everyone was looking at him. It was pin drop silence. And then he said, no, I can't see God. So then Prabhupada looked at him even more piercingly, and he said, do you want to see God? And in that moment he thought, and then he began shaking his head. And he said, no, I don't want to see God. And Prabhupada said, therefore, you cannot see God. Because you don't want to. There's only one qualification to see God. You have to want it. No, I want it. But I also want a whole bunch of other things as well. That's the problem. So therefore, when one becomes so one-pointed, vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana. See, you have to become, the gopis were like this, one-pointed. There was nothing else. They were not seeing anything else. They were only seeing. When one becomes so focused, definitely one will see Krishna. So how do we become like that? Therefore, number one, we need good association. See, in this movement, we can associate with many, many different types of devotees, and all devotees are wonderful. All devotees are glorious. All devotees are very, very rare. And all devotees should be served. However, you need to find some Vaishnav who has that vyavasayatmika buddhi. And then you need to take their association. Because Krishna bhakti janma mula hoya sadhu sang. Krishna prema janma teho puna mukhya ang. The only janma mula, the root cause of the awakening of love for Krishna, is if you get the association of someone who has learned only spiritual desires. Therefore, one must seek out such association. By their company, one's emotion, one's bhav will be awakened. Like once I went to a funeral, and it was like a Oriental funeral. So they were speaking, perhaps it was in Chinese. So then one of the family members of the person who had died, he came to speak. So he was speaking in Chinese. So many of us had come to support because we knew the person who had passed away. So he was speaking in Chinese. And as he was speaking in Chinese, he was crying and, so much bhav. And the amazing thing is, in the crematorium, half of us didn't know Chinese. But just by hearing him, we all felt like crying. Because do you see, when you're around someone who has some bhav, when you're around someone who has some love, then you feel that love. You feel that same desire that's going through their heart. That's the power of association. So therefore, if you want to maintain your material desires, don't get too close to the powerful devotees. They're dangerous people. My parents told me, Sadhu, don't go too close. Keep a little safe distance from them. Because if you get close, then some of their love will begin to hijack your heart. That's the power. The devotees are like agents of Vamandev. Yes, because Vamandev came and he said, I don't need much, I just need 3 steps. Just 3 steps. Not so much. So the devotees come in your life. No, don't worry. Just add Krishna. No need to change. And then, before you know it, they've taken over your life. One must look for good association. This will make the difference. Try to find out the great souls. They will take you to Krishna. Once the Swaminarayans, I think also you have Swaminarayan's temple here. So the sadhus had come. So I asked them a question. I said, for you, what's the most important verse in Bhagavatam? So very interesting. You know the verse they quoted? They said, Pramukh Swami told us this is the most important verse in Bhagavatam. And they quoted a verse from the 3rd canto, Kapila Dev's instructions to Devahuti. Prashangam ajaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu sa eva sadhushu krito mokshadvaram apavritam. They said this is the most important verse from Bhagavatam. Prashangam ajaram pasham. The association of worldly minded people chains you to this material world. But that same attachment for worldly minded people, saeva sadhushu krito, when you transfer it to a sadhu, if you become attached to a sadhu, moksha dvaram, the gates to liberation, apavritam, are opened up immediately. In other words, if you get attached to a saintly person, a sadhu, then that attachment, by their association, all spiritual desires will be awakened. So we must try to associate. If we want to awaken our spiritual desires, the second thing we have to do is we have to make commitments to Krishna. We have to take a vow. We like to do Krishna consciousness, but we don't like to make the vows. We don't like to make the commitment. But the commitment and the vows are very, very important, because on the days when we don't have that spontaneous spiritual desire, because we've made the vow, we continue to give ourselves to Krishna. And when we continue to give ourselves to Krishna, even when we don't have the desire, but because we've made a vow, then what will happen eventually is that desire will become more and more fueled. And therefore the great devotees are the ones who make many, many commitments to Krishna. They make many, many vows. They fill their life with different things that they have promised Krishna they will do. And therefore what happens is that their spiritual desires begin to blossom from all of those vows and commitments. The third thing one must do if one wants to blossom their spiritual desires is they must pray. Prayer is very, very powerful, because what prayer does, Krishna is already in your heart. He knows what you want. Isn't it? Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. Krishna says, I know everything. I'm in your heart. I even know everything about you. So then sometimes people say, if Krishna knows everything I want, why do I have to pray? First is because it's an offering of love. But the second reason we pray is to help remind ourselves of what we should be aiming for. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadish kamaye, mama janmani janmanishvare bhavatad bhaktirahaitu ki tvai. When we say this prayer, we don't mean it. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. We're saying more dhanam, more janam, more. Na, more. No, we're saying the prayer. Because while saying the prayer, while saying the words of the great souls, while repeating the Shabda Brahman, which is non-different from the Supreme Lord, because it's emanated from the mouth of the Supreme Lord, while reciting those prayers, one's consciousness becomes purified. And therefore one must always pray before the Supreme Lord. Rupa Goswami prays, Yuvatinam yatha yuni yunam cha yuvato yatha manobhi ramate tadvan manome ramatam tvai. He says, just as the minds of young girls are attracted to young boys, and just as the minds of young boys are attracted to young girls, may my mind be as spontaneously drawn towards you, my Supreme Lord. So these prayers are very, very powerful, because they help to transform our consciousness, our way of thinking. And finally, if you want to change your desires, Fill your life with service, with seva. When every moment of our life is filled with service for Krishna, some amazing thing we're trying to do to make Krishna smile, to make Srila Prabhupada smile, then those services, in the fire of that service, all of our material desires are burned up. One time Srila Prabhupada, he was walking down from the plane. And as he walked down the airlift, down the plane, then there were many devotees that had greeted to see him. And as soon as Srila Prabhupada came, everyone bowed down. Even the people that didn't know who he was bowed down. And then Prabhupada looked at the servant who was with him. And he said, "You know why they're bowing down to me?" No. Prabhupada said, "Because I have no sex desire." Wow. And then later on Prabhupada, of course he was saying in his humility, but later on Prabhupada walked and he said, "Actually, I have no time for sex desire." So when Prabhupada said, "I have no desire for this," then we think, will I ever get there? But then Prabhupada made it accessible for us because he said, actually I have no time. That we can do. That we can do. We may not be able to come in front of Krishna and say, I don't have any desire for this. But what we can do is fill our life with service. And then when we're so absorbed, then we have no time for these things. And therefore, gradually they all disappear because our life is filled with service for Krishna. So these are the ways of desire management. These are the ways in which we can give our heart, our mind to Krishna. Otherwise, these desires will destroy us. These desires will, we think they'll make us happy. They'll cause us so much pain. There's one Christian saint lady, her name is Saint Teresa of Avila. And she said more tears were shed from prayers that were answered than from prayers that weren't. Because we ask for so many things and desire, and we don't know these things are going to bring us into trouble. Wow, okay, so these are all the questions. Maybe someone can read it out to me. Is that better? Maybe. You want to do that? That would be better, I think, because it's easier for me to just hear it than read it. And so thank you very much. These were some thoughts on desire management. And we have some questions here. And perhaps if some of you have live questions, we can also take. So yes, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So this is part of the question. Please recommend some prayers to recite that will help us on this path of bhakti. Thank you.
So there are so many prayers you can recite. Rupa Goswami explains there are 4 types of prayers. Some prayers are prayers of humility. Some prayers are prayers of submission. Some prayers are prayers for some spiritual perfection in the world. And some prayers are prayers for service. So he explains there are many, many different types of prayers. Personally, I have a daily prayer book. And what I do in that book is I write down all the verses, all the sentiments, all the outpourings of the hearts of the devotees, and specifically prayers that I can very much connect with. So I could give you many, many prayers here that you could recite. For example, Queen Kunti says very beautifully, Tvaime nanya vishaya matir madhupate sakrit Ratim udvahatad adha gange vogum adanvati. Very, very beautiful. She says, just as the Ganga flows towards the ocean, and when the Ganga flows towards the ocean, it gushes in such a way that nothing can obstruct the flow of the Ganga. And so Queen Kunti says, may my rati, may my attachment, may my attraction for you, Krishna, flow so powerfully that in the same way it will not be obstructed by any impediment of this material world. Very, very beautiful. So, the best prayer is the prayer that you connect with. The best prayer is the prayer that you look at and you feel encapsulates what your deepest desire is. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave so many prayers. Srila Prabhupada himself, he very much liked the prayers of King Kulashekar. King Kulashekar, who said, while I have consciousness, while I have remembrance, let me die, Krishna, remembering you, because at the time of death, who knows what will happen. So very many beautiful prayers. Prabhupada quoted another beautiful prayer of King Kulashekar. Majjanmana phalamidam maduketa bare mad prathaniya mananugraha esha eva tvad bhritya bhritya paricharika bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya iti mam smaralokanatha. Very, very beautiful. He says, Majjanmana phalamidam, my life will be fruitful if Tvad bhritya bhritya paricharika bhritya bhritya bhrityasya bhritya iti mam shmaralokanatha. My life will be beautiful if I can become the servant of 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 Krishna. Very beautiful. So many prayers one can recite. They transform our consciousness. Is that okay?
Question 2. There's a quote or a synopsis. Dhruva Maharaj had material desires, yet he showed by example just by associating with the pure devotee Narad Muni and praying to Lord Krishna, he was purified mercy from the Supreme Lord. Do we need to also perform severe austerities?
Yes, Dhruva was purified. In the Hari Bhakti Sudadhaya is mentioned, Stana bilasi tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan deva muni draguyam kacham vichinvan api divyaratnam svamin kritartho smivaram nayache. Stana abhilas. Dhruva said, I had a abhilas, I had a desire, stana, for a great kingdom. And therefore, what did I do? Tapasi stitoham. Therefore, I engaged myself in tapasya. Tvam praptavan. But when I engaged myself in tapasya, I got you. Munidra deva guyam. You who is even difficult for the munis and the devas to see. And then I realized, Kacham vichinvan. Isn't it? In Gujarati, Kach means glass. Kacham vichinvan. Now I realized all my material desires were like broken glass. Api divya ratnam. I was searching for broken glass, and instead what did I find? A transcendental jewel. Swamin kritarto. Smivaram nayache. Now I don't need anything more. So very beautiful. Dhruva came to this point. But the point was, yes, tapasi stitoham. You have to do some tapasya. Yes. I also received that name, Sutapa. If you do some tapasya, then tapasya creates a fire. See, tapa means austerity, but tapa also means fire. Dap, isn't it? Say dap. When you have a headache, say dap. Very warm. So tapasya, what it does is it creates heat. And it creates a fire. And in that fire of tapasya, one's material desires are burned up. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says, an easygoing life, an attainment of transcendental realization in Krishna consciousness cannot go together. You can't want an easy life and at the same time think that you're going to get transcendental realization. But in Krishna consciousness, the tapasya is not so much. You don't need to go to the Himalayas and do thousands of years of austerity. You don't need to fast and do so many bodily, very difficult bodily things. Srila Prabhupada said, go out on one day of book distribution and it's like thousands of years of tapasya in the Himalayas. So Prabhupada, for us, he said the tapasya in Kali Yuga is only two things. Number one, preach. And number two, cooperate with the devotees. Oh no, that one. That's too much tapasya, that one, you know. Cooperate with the devotees, yes. If you can cooperate and put your ego to one side and lovingly appreciate and serve the Vaishnavas, and then you go out and you try to touch people's hearts and you take whatever hardship is required to reach as many people as possible, then through this simple tapasya, twofold tapasya, you will get the result of what Dhruva Maharaj got. Same thing you will get. Dhruva Maharaj's tapasya is beyond us. So yes, he said in the first month he was only drinking water, is it? Every 12 days, is it? No, every 4 days. Okay, I can't remember the statistics. I decided not to memorize it because it's too depressing. I'm never going to do that. You can read if you want to. It's in the 4th canto. Basically, it's beyond us. So this is the tapasya. Yes, preach and cooperate.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your kindness. May you always remember Krishna and never forget him. Maharaj, how can we come out of our comfort zone and become serious in Krishna consciousness?
Once there was a bird and it was not flying. So the trainer was trying everything to get the bird to fly. He just couldn't do it. So then one person came, this trainer was baffled, and the person said, what's the problem? He said, this bird is not flying. I've tried everything. It's not flying. So the person said, give me 1 day. Give me 1 day, I'll make this bird fly. He said, okay. So the trainer went away. He came back the next day, the bird was flying. He said, that's amazing. I've been training birds all my life, but I couldn't get this one to fly. How did you get this bird to fly? The man said it was simple. I just cut the branch underneath it. I cut the branch underneath it. No choice. See? That sounded like the bird. If we're honest, we're never going to come out of the comfort zone ourselves. It's too hard. It's too comfortable. It's too easy. I don't want to come out. How many of us are really going to come out of the comfort zone ourselves? I don't know. Definitely I wasn't prepared to do that. But then someone will come in your life and they'll cut the branch underneath you. They'll pull the rug under your legs. Someone will come and push you. For most of us, that's the only way it's going to happen. If we allow someone to come in our life and push us. His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he was distributing books in the communist countries. You have to just think for one moment what that means. That means if you're driving and the KGB stop you, that's game over. They were doing it. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj at that time, Ganashyam Prabhu, he came to Prabhupada. Prabhupada called him into the room. Prabhupada was so emotional. He started rubbing his head. He said, you've become so dear to my Guru Maharaj by your service of distributing books. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, he was crying. He was so emotional. Prabhupada said, you have become so dear to the Parampara. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj looked at Prabhupada and he said, I only did it, Prabhupada, because you pushed me. I only did it because you pushed me. And Prabhupada said, yes, my spiritual master pushed me. I'm pushing you. And in the future you will push others. And as one carriage pushes the other, the whole train goes back home, back to Godhead. So are we really going to do it? Are we going to wake up in the morning and say, I want to come out of the comfort zone? I don't know. Maybe for a day. And then we'll go back to recover and may never emerge again. But when there's a Vaishnava who has captured your heart, when there's a Vaishnava who's walking the talk. At the manor there was one great devotee, Shruti Dharma Prabhu. He was the temple president there for many years. And many times he pushed me to do things I didn't want to do. I'd practically be in places and I'm like, why am I here? I don't want to do this. And then his picture would come in my mind. When he would call me on my phone, I would see his number, his name, Shruti Dharma. I would be very excited. Now a sadhu is calling me. But sometimes I wouldn't answer the call. Because I knew when he calls me, there's going to be some element of surrender in this call. I don't know, I'm not ready for that surrender, you know. So I told him later on he got a brain tumor. I told him, Prabhu, sometimes I cancelled your call. I wasn't ready, I'm sorry. He said, I know. But I cornered you other ways, you know, I found a way to get you. So the great souls, they come in our life. I think that's the way. No Vaishnava is self-made. Every Vaishnava served another great Vaishnava. Every Vaishnava was pushed by another great Vaishnava. And so try to find someone in your life who's so inspiring that they'll just push you out of your comfort zone. And then you'll do it very joyfully. And it will be very wonderful. It will be a great adventure.
Question. I have read, heard Srila Prabhupada say that one should become desireless. What does this actually mean?
So Rupa Goswami explains what is the definition of pure devotional service. Anya bhilashita shunyam jnana karamadhyanavritam anukulyena krishnano silanam bhaktiruttama. To become desireless means anya abhilashita shunyam. All desires other than those which are meant at Krishna's happiness and enjoyment are zero. All desires one has are desires to please Krishna, desires for Krishna's service, desires for Krishna's devotees, one spiritualizes every single desire. That's what it means to become desireless. Therefore, Jiva Goswami says, akama, or desirelessness, means doesn't just mean without. Means Krishna. Because Krishna says, among letters I am A. And therefore, akama means to be desireless, means to only desire for Krishna.
In our daily lives we have desires. Like I desire to obtain a salary so I can maintain myself in Krishna consciousness. I desire to go on a holiday, for example. So I've tried to understand how to desire for Krishna if I still have to desire things for my daily living.
Therefore I said some desires are ignored and some desires are channeled. So if you want to go on holiday, you just channel it. And you go to a place where you can meet devotees. You go to a place where you can also learn something spiritual. You go to a place where you get a break, but you also get connection with Krishna. And in that way you channel your desire. And then yes, you have a service, but you have some material desire behind it. Then you know those are the desires you have to purify. Those are the desires that you have to conduct, but you have to be very, very careful how you do them, with what mentality. Over time you have to refine the way you do those activities so they can become more and more spiritual and less materially tainted. So therefore this is all desire management. We need to understand which desires to ignore, which to direct, which to purify, and which to expand.
I desire to help my family in Krishna consciousness. They, however, desire not to align themselves with my desire. I am anxious in my desire. What should I do?
Join the club. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Iti te jnanamakyatam guyat guyataram maya vimrashe tadasheshena yathechasi tatha kuru. I've given you all the knowledge. Now you think about it, analyze it, reflect on it, challenge it, consider it. Yata icha tatha kuru. And then whatever your desire is, that you do. Even Krishna doesn't force Arjuna. Even Krishna can't force Arjuna. Because bhakti is an affair of the heart. So you can take the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And therefore, Krishna says, Karmanyeda dikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Try your best, and once you've done your best, then you have to let Krishna leave it between them and Krishna. So that's what we do. So just try to find as many ingenious ways as you can to give mercy to your family. Sometimes it's not by preaching. Sometimes it's by good character. Sometimes even your good character doesn't change their heart. Then you have to give them prasadam. And then somehow if they refuse to take prasadam, then you have to spike their drink with maha water. But somehow or other, you have to deliver some mercy. And if you deliver some mercy, whether they come to Krishna or not, one thing's for sure, they're getting closer. And that's already a success.
There are two more, should I complete it?
As you desire.
Alright. So Arjuna was a Kshatriya. In his normal, kingly, princely life, he had numerous desires. And Kshatriyas are passionate. So how could he be a devotee and still have those desires? Avenging Draupadi was a desire.
Yes. Kshatriyas have to have some rajas. They have to have some passion, because their job in this world requires them to be very, very active and alive. alert. But we can see that in Krishna consciousness, when we say manage your desires, what we're doing is we're not asking you to become someone else. What we're saying is be yourself, but do it in the purest way possible. In other words, become the best version of yourself. So everyone has a different personality. Everyone has a different nature. Some are more charismatic, some are more powerful, some are quiet, some are simple, some are very, very... they need to be involved in everything, every detail. So the idea is take your nature and then purify it. Take your nature and direct it all towards Krishna. So yes, Arjuna and the warriors, they had a certain amount of passion, they had a certain amount of desire. And yes, the Kshatriyas are like that. However, Krishna was always the center of their life. On that point, nobody can fault Arjuna. Yes, he was totally dedicated to Krishna. And so even when seemingly he seemed to be doing passionate things, or he had desires for revenge, or it wasn't that Krishna was out of the picture or Krishna was sidelined at that time. Still it was done according to Dharma, according to Krishna's direction, and according to the principles of Shastra. And therefore, to become desireless doesn't mean to lose your personality, but it means to lose your separatist mentality, where you take God out of the picture. Like that.
Last one word. What is your desire, Maharaj?
I want some of that cake. Narottam Das Thakur says, Tadera charana sevi bhakta sanivas janame janame hoy ei abhilas. To live with the Vaishnavas, to serve the Vaishnavas, to have the company of the Vaishnavas, Janame janame hoy, life after life, ei abhilas. This is my only desire. So, to live with the Vaishnavas, to have the opportunity to sing with the Vaishnavas, to dance with the Vaishnavas, to serve the Vaishnavas, to learn from the Vaishnavas. This is my only desire. Life after life, Narottam says. So I resonate with that. It's not easy to live with the Vaishnavas. One devotee came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I just can't tolerate him anymore. Prabhupada said, you have to tolerate him just as I'm tolerating you. So it's not so easy to live together. I lived for over 20 years in the ashram at the manor. And I have to tell you, there was not a week that didn't go by where I was like, I need to get out of here. But every week after the Sunday feast, my mind would be pacified, ready for another week. And over time I realized, sometimes difficult to live with them, but one thing's for sure, definitely can't live without them. And so, yes, if I can remain in the society of Vaishnavas for the rest of my life and nobody kicks me out for my pride and pretentiousness, then that will be wonderful, that will be glorious. That is my desire. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. His Holiness Svayam Bhagavan Keshava Swami Maharaj ki.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Before you leave, there's some announcements Ram Vijay Prabhu asked me to do. So the Swarup Prabhu had mentioned, Swarup Damodar Prabhu had mentioned the leadership classes, the Prithu principle. So that's 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Thursday, Friday, and Monday. Then troubleshooting on the path of bhakti. This seminar is based on Madhurya Kadambini, and Saturday and Sunday mornings at 7:30 a.m. And in the afternoon, Maharaj is also going to Phoenix on the 18th at 11 a.m. for the youth program, and then Sunday Love Feast. And on Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. is the seminar called Spiritual Warrior, Tools for the Inner Battle. Now that you have to register, and that's been circulating a lot. If you have not registered by now, then I think we may just have a few places left for that seminar. That costs 100 Rand and includes prasadam. It is Ekadasi on Sunday. So that's... and tomorrow Maharaj also goes to Peter Maritzburg. There is an outreach program there, but everybody is invited to that. Did you get the time for it? 7 p.m. It's an evening program at the temple at 7 p.m. So you can pass the word to your friends, and if you can come along, it's 18:30, sorry, 6:30 p.m. So please come along if you can, and also take the darshan of Sri Sri Dayal Nitai Gaura Hari at that temple. So thank you very much, Maharaj. We're very, very indebted to you for your kind association. I have the books to mention. The following books are available here. Firstly, it's His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Swami's book, Giriraj in Vrindavan. And then His Holiness S.B. Keshava Maharaj's book called Gita 3. Both are available for sale for 200 Rand each, and you could use a cash or your card, and Maharaj will autograph these books. So they've been lapped up at the Santan Rath Yatra. We had two titles. One is completely gone, the Tattva, but this is also very wonderful. So please take those books and have them autographed by Maharaj and imbibe those lessons. Thank you so much to everybody. Maharaj has also had a long day, so he's tired. And we're going to 5 minutes more for the Aarti if you want to remain. Yes, you can please come forward to get your books in the meantime, and Maharaj can continue to sign those books. Just move towards you. So you have been here for so long. There's no need to rush off. It's 4 minutes left for the Aarti. Might as well take darshan before you go. Hare Krishna.